And woohoo, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's very exciting for me to say that. But I'd love to introduce you to Carissa Andrews if you've not met her. Hi, Carissa.
Hello, Emma. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always lovely to see you. And I'm particularly excited because you're talking about something that's very close to my heart. And we're talking about manifestation, law of attraction, that kind of thing, but with sort of specificity for authors and how it relates to our author careers and our author life, because you are very generously sharing a lot of what you know in the Abundant Author Activation Masterclass, which you're hosting on Monday. And I'm really excited to tell people about it, or for you to tell people about it. But I thought for people who don't know what it is, I wondered if you wouldn't mind just sharing with us sort of what manifestation is, and then also just share with us your journey into it. You know, how did you discover it, and how did you realize, haha, it's working, it's doing something for me here?
Gotcha. Okay, so thank you. I appreciate that because it's going to be so much fun to talk about manifestation. It's my favorite thing in the world. So manifestation, honestly, we're doing manifestation all the time. Every single day, it doesn't matter what we're doing, we're manifesting something. It really has 3 steps, right? You have a decision to do something, anything. Maybe it's making a cup of coffee, right? Or some spaghetti. We can talk about that in a little bit. I love that analogy. It's a big one. It's going to be fabulous. But every day, doesn't matter what you're doing. You've decided you're going to sit down, you're going to do something. You're going to sit in the action, the vibration of it, and then you're going to take any inspired action steps that'll eventually get you there. So for instance, with a cup of coffee, it's going to be like, okay, you want a cup of coffee, go to the grocery store, you get your beans, you have a coffee pot and water, right? So you fill the machine, you get it ready to go, you press on. In the morning, you have your lovely cup of coffee. And that is literally just manifestation. It's manifestation in action. But when we're talking about it with the author career, it can be bigger. It could be manifesting the words for the page that you're trying to write right now. It could be the chapter you're trying to do. It could be the outline you're trying to create. It could literally be your entire author career and how you want it to look and work for you. It could be the amount of money you eventually want to pull in. There's all sorts of ways that you're manifesting. And each time that you're doing those things, you're either being deliberate and conscious with how you're doing it, or you're operating out of an unconscious system for it. And so it just depends on, do you want your author career, your writing, your everything to unfold unconsciously, or do you want to be an active participant in it? So when it comes to manifestation for myself, I think I stumbled into it a very long time ago. It was originally, I've always loved any kind of new age thought processes, or actually philosophy and religions. I studied comparative religions as a kid, of all things. Like in high school, I studied comparative religions and philosophy. I loved it. It was like I was a book nerd. I'm shocking, right? Shocking. But when it comes to putting it in practice, I think it wasn't until probably about 2010-ish where all of a sudden things started going really fast for me, where I started clicking those Lego blocks into place and seeing, oh my gosh, this stuff works, right? So I went to Sedona, of all weird places. I was having like a crazy time with my then husband. We were not getting along and things were not working. We had been together for a very long time. And went to Sedona, and they're known for vortexes, right? They're known for this like magical energy. And I'm like, I'm a skeptical Virgo, so I need to go to this place where there's supposedly magical energy and see what's happening here, right? And so we wandered around. I kind of did my own thing because I was exploring what I then felt like was just me tapping into something maybe supernatural, just see what it was like. And I did a lot of labyrinth walking and a lot of thinking about what I wanted, what I desired, what it was that I wanted my life to look like instead of what it was and what I was unhappy with. And the next thing you know, when we got back, things started falling apart with the marriage. I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? Like this is not working. We started going to therapy. It was not a great experience. I didn't understand then that I had made the decision to move forward in a new future, a new timeline. So what was old was starting to crumble. Mm-hmm. In walks this well, he didn't even walk. In types this crazy British man on Twitter, and we started talking about our first books that we were publishing. We were getting ready to put them out. And this was like months after the whole Sedona situation. The next thing I know, my marriage is ending. He's coming here from England just to visit in like December of that year. So it was like February to December, this whole system kind of fell apart. He was here in December and he has never left. So we were celebrating our 11th anniversary on Tuesday, the 21st of February.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
thank you. It was such a crazy manifestation that was the first time I went, oh, this works. Like, and the thing was, I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't looking for a specific, a partner or anything like that. I was literally just locking in on the type of life I wanted to live. And because I finally let go of what I kept trying to fix, kept trying to hold on to, and I finally went, if this is not meant to be anymore, I'm okay with it. That's when the universe was able to swoop in and go, finally, we can give you what you're asking for. You got out of your own way. So that, my friends, long story short, is how manifestation really got locked in for me. But it's not the end of the story, because for a while there, I mean, as authors do, we get locked into all the things we think we have to do, because I was just putting out my first book when my husband and I met, and I didn't know a whole lot about publishing it. I mean, I knew more than probably most because I'd been in the traditional side of publishing for a long time, but indie publishing, I hadn't made the decision yet. And so there was a lot of like fluctuation there. And so I got lost for a while in the to-do lists of being an indie author, of all the things that we were trying to learn and create. And it wasn't probably until 2017, shortly after my brother passed away, that I started getting more into it again and started looking more into like the reality hacker stuff, or Denise Duffield Thomas or Amanda Francis. And it pulled inside of me that memory that I had, like, I know how this works. Of course I know how this works. I knew how this worked ages ago. And so it's just kind of gone from there. And I just love all the teachers, Abraham Hicks, all the things. And so that's kind of how that whole thing came about.
Yay, who knew Sedona would be the catalyst for so much?
Right? And it's a beautiful place, by the way. It's very commercialized if you are walking downtown Sedona, but if you go out to the vortexes and or vortices, I think it's vortices, isn't it? If you go out there or do any of the labyrinths and things like that, wonderful. I highly recommend it. But it was just
what is the labyrinth walk? I thought maybe this was just a way of thinking, but it's an actual thing, is it?
Yeah. So it's literally, this is what a labyrinth looks like, but it's in a garden shape, like out in the garden. So for those who can see it, okay. So it's literally it is a maze that you cannot get lost in. You literally walk, and then you'll find yourself back out where you came in. But it's meant to symbolize like the brain and how the brain actually looks. So if you look at it, it almost looks like a brain shape, right? And so when you're doing that, when you're doing the walks, and I think this is why for me, I can manifest very well when I'm lawn mowing. It's super weird. It's like I must be in some way, shape, or form a physical manifester, because if I'm moving, if I have some sort of action and movement with the thing that I'm thinking about, it always comes faster. But yeah, so the walk really helped me to go introspective into what I wanted versus what was happening, what I was experiencing. And that's really what shifted.
It's not been as dramatic for me, I have to admit, but I certainly noticed it just in small ways, that just using the techniques that are taught by people like Denise Duffield Thomas, that slowly but surely things happen. And I think from what I understand as well is that the more experienced you get at it, like anything, the more you practice it, then the more powerful it becomes, and you can change things with the click of your fingers almost.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you then about, I can sort of hear people who are maybe a little bit more skeptical kind of thinking, but how can I implement that into my writing life? I don't understand. How can I, if I'm writing a chapter right now that I'm stuck with, how do I use manifestation to, is it magic? Someone's going to write the words on the page for me. How does it work? How can we use that in a practical way?
I love this question. It's the best ever. Okay, so this is coming from a double Virgo who's very skeptical about a lot of things. I mean, maybe not astrology, because I like to talk about astrology often. But for me, it's like I see patterns. I'm very much a pattern person. And so I see where things are working, where there's truth. I'm also an Enneagram 9 for any of you who like the Enneagram. And so I see those threads everywhere. I see all the truths. And so for me, when people are like, I'm skeptical about this, let's use that example of the chapter. So I'm stuck on this chapter. What you're doing right now, when you're going, I'm stuck, is you are declaring to yourself, to the universe, that you're stuck. And so the energy you're in is stuck. But if you decided, make a different decision, that I'm not stuck. I'm just looking for more inspiration. I'm in the process of creating something new, or something incredible is about to come in that I just haven't thought of yet. If you shift your thoughts just a little bit and make a decision that that's the case, that you're no longer stuck, you have just shifted your vibration, your frequency, to one of the solution instead of the one of the problem. And so once that shift occurs, and you hold that vibe, knowing that the information is coming, it will come. It has no choice but to come. And so it will, I'll give you an example because this has actually happened to me. So I was writing a chapter for one of my, I think it was the Diana Hawthorne series, and I was stuck in it, and I'm going, oh, I can't figure out what's going on here. My daughter's like, hey, we should go watch Gravity Falls together, because we were watching this show together as a mother-daughter duo. And I'm like, oh, but I have to get this chapter done, but I'm stuck on it. And so finally I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's go watch this chapter, or watch the show. I'll forget about the chapter. And we went down there. It's 25 minutes, worth of a cartoon. Next thing I know, like in the middle of the show, boom, the idea of what I was missing in that chapter, it was actually amends. That was the book I was writing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know what this is. And it was because I was like, you know what, let's do this thing that's different. I'm open to something coming through. I'm open to having and receiving different insights. It came while I wasn't thinking about it. And then I could go back and take the obvious inspired action to write the chapter. And so when you're looking at manifestation, if you can shift to the solution instead of focusing on the problem, this is actually a part of the principles, right? So you only ever have two choices. This is principle number 2 in the Abundant Author Masterclass. But principle number 2 is that you want to make the shift to understand that you only ever have two choices. You're either working in the solution or you're working in the problem. And so if you focus on the negative, like I'm stuck, I'm not working through this, I'm not able to go forward, or, manifestation doesn't work for me. Those are decisions that you are choosing that are on the problem end of the stick. Abraham Hicks likes to call it a stick. They go about this whole process saying that, like, every desire is actually two choices. It's the thing that is wanted and the thing that is unwanted. And if you're operating in the thing that's unwanted by your feelings. So if you are feeling anxious or disappointed or angry or agitated, you're on the wrong end of the stick. And so you either need to find a way to gently move your thoughts towards the things that you want, which is obviously the desire of getting the chapter written, or you drop the stick, which is what I did, and move on to something else so that insights and flow can come back to you. And so you can do it two different ways, but that's how you shift then into the solution, into the words flowing. Because anytime you've decided, I'm stuck, this chapter is stuck, I'm not going to get through this, you're operating in that victim mode mentality and the problem, and you're not going to get through it from there. You can't get there. You can't get to the solution from there. They're on two different energetic frequencies.
Yeah. Word choice is so important. I remember doing a training and learning about the words that we choose to talk to ourselves with, or how we describe a situation that we're in, is that yes, we choose the words that either cement the problem or open us up to the possibility of change, and kind of give that fluidity that we need in order to let an idea come in. Absolutely. And it's as wordsmiths, as writers, it's funny how when it's in our own lives, we don't recognize that. We don't recognize the words that we're choosing. And actually, as you were talking there, it was making me think, it's like writing a scene in a book, because you've got your character there who's got a choice to make. Are they going to take the active way, or are they not? Are they going to be proactive in their own destiny, or are they not? And that conflict, and then they've got to make the choice. And then there'll be the consequence. And so if we're in a state of conflict in our own life about something, as it could be writing a chapter, it could be a marriage, it could be anything in between.
Yes.
But if we make a choice, and I'll come back to this question actually, but if we make this choice, then the consequence of that will be either positive or negative, depending on whether we're in that solution choice or we're in that problem choice.
And that actually brings me to principle number 3, if you wanted to know what it is.
Go on then. Go.
Yeah. Contrast births desires. So anytime that happens, when you're going forward, you're going to, come up against anything that is either bringing you joy, making you happy because you've attracted it, or you're going to come across something that is not so happy, or something that, like, you have a consequence that you didn't foresee that is not a good consequence. But the thing is, it's just contrast. That contrast is helping you decide more clearly what it is you want. And so when you are, writing something and it doesn't work out, like your best friend hates the chapter, now you've come across this choice again. Now you go, do I take their advice? Do I not take their advice? Do I move forward as it is, or do I change everything that I've just written? So it's always helping you to get more clarity on the direction you're going, on your life in general, on the forward momentum you've already set yourself upon. And so really, there's not anything truly wrong in anything that you're going to do. You can never F it up. It's just that you have this, and we are living in contrast all the time. We live in a world of polarity, right? Mm-hmm. So in order to move through life, you just realize that, okay, this contrast is showing me what I want more clearly. I want to be an author. I want to do this thing. So like, if you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like, why isn't this working? It's because truly you actually really desire for it to work out for you. You really want it to work, but you have to shift from the problem back into the solution and going, oh my gosh, I can do this. I am an abundant author. I am a magical wordsmith. I am someone who can do this and pull in as many readers as I want at any time that I want it. And then when you start doing that, when you continue to think those thoughts, you're going to start creating neural pathways that are going to concretize it. And that's actually principle number 5, where beliefs are just thoughts you continue to think. So if you continue to think a thought like that, a thought that's going to pull you through to knowing that your destiny is bigger, knowing that you could be a millionaire author, if that's what you choose, knowing that you could have thousands of writers, or you could have, millions of dollars in the bank, that's a choice that you make, and you continue to think it until it becomes your reality.
Mm-hmm. So I want to come back to principle number 5 in a bit, but do you just take us through them? Start at number 1, because we've done 2 and 3. What's principle number 1?
Sure. So principle number 1 is happiness is your natural state. So you're always operating out of happiness. And if you deviate in any way, shape, or form from happiness, you're operating, whatever your thought is, you need to pause, stop, and think, what thought just made that thing happen? Because if you go into anything negative, if you go into that pessimistic, angry, anxious state, you are no longer operating out of your better, higher self, your happy self, which is where we're always trying to find that equilibrium back to. Every single one of us wants to be happy. So happiness is the first one. Mm-hmm. So the number 2 is that you always have 2 choices. So when you are making those decisions, it doesn't matter what the thought is, you always have 2 choices. It could be the happy thought, it could be the unhappy thought. What choice are you making? And so operate out of those 2 choices, decide which one feels better to you, or drop the stick, as Abraham Hicks calls it, and pick up a different one so that you can shift your vibe. Because even if you're having a thought, a lot of times we think we have to think these certain thoughts, but if you drop the thought, like me in the chapter, and you do something else, you are shifting your vibration, your energy. We are energetic beings, all of us. It doesn't matter what we are, what we think. I mean, at a microscopic level, we are vibrating energy. That's what we are. And so when you shift and drop the stick, or drop the choice, or drop the thoughts that are holding you into a state of anxiety, and you shift to something different, you've literally shifted your entire energetic state. Your frequency is different. And so you can attract something better. And that's how that chapter came, or the chapter idea, scene idea came in.
That fits in. You know how we always have our best ideas in the shower, because we've dropped it, we've moved it, we've changed the vibration, and we've dropped the stick, and then we let the ideas come in. Yeah,
absolutely. Because it's all of a sudden, because our higher self, this is what Abraham Hicks calls it, our higher being, our higher self, we always know what it is that we're desiring. That part of ourselves always knows. If you ever get really focused on your thoughts and you can see your thoughts, you're thinking this thought and you're like, why am I thinking this thought? It almost feels like there's 2 of you. And I think Eckhart Tolle talks about this in The Power of Now, and Awakening, I think, is the other one. And so it's when you're doing that, there, you can tell that there's 2 parts of you, in a sense. So that higher part of you always knows what you're actually going after, even if your egoic state, even if that thinking brain is thinking something that's opposing to it. And so we're always trying to move forward. So if you drop that thought in that anxious energetic state, now you're allowing the good feeling thoughts to come in. You're allowing something else to come in, especially if you've gone in the shower and elevated your frequency because you're listening to music, the water feels great, whatever, you're no longer in that anxiety state. All of a sudden it's hey, finally, here's all these thoughts you were trying to get at, but you couldn't have access to because you're being too much of a sulky baby right now, so it's all of a sudden it comes in. Yeah.
So that's 1, 2, 3. So that was the 4th one, was it?
That was 2. So 3 is contrast versus desires. And so that's when you have the two ends of, when you have the darkness, like the weird things coming in and you choose to make something out of it. So you get to shift. It's always about clarity. 4 is then the answer is always yes. So once you have clarity, once you know what you want, once you know what like decision you're going to go towards, knowing that the answer is always yes. So that's what the 4th one is. The answer is always yes. So like if you went, I'm going to be a millionaire author, the answer is yes. Now the only choice that you have is to be in the vibe of that, knowing it's yours, and don't be the one uncooperative component to the entire thing unfolding. So this is where the spaghetti thing comes in. Let me give you an example. So let's say you want dinner and it's spaghetti, right? You want spaghetti for dinner and you're going to like that. You've locked it in. You know, this is the desire you want. It's going to happen. You go to the cupboard and then you realize you don't have spaghetti noodles. You have everything else, but not spaghetti noodles. Now you have a choice. Do you pick something different, or do you go to the grocery store and get the noodles so you can still have the thing that you really wanted, right? And you always have that choice. You can choose something else. You could go, I guess I don't want spaghetti that much, and have tacos instead, right? Or you could do whatever. But if you really wanted it, if that's the thing you really desired, you're going to lock that in. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to come back. You're going to make spaghetti. And the next thing you know, you're eating spaghetti. Same thing goes with your author career, right? If you want to have a millionaire author career, you're going to keep working towards it. You're going to keep getting your craft in order. You're going to understand, how Amazon ads work. You're going to figure out how to hire people as help to you. You're going to keep writing books so that your backlist grows. You're going to keep doing the thing until it happens, locking in the vibe, knowing that it's yours, knowing your mid-manifestation of it, so that way it can come to you. But the second you start questioning it, the second you start going, or the second you start feeling like it's not going to happen and you shift to something else, now all of a sudden you've picked tacos. So it's up to you. It's up to you to always make the decision and hold in that vibe, lock in the vibe until it arrives. So that's number 4.
Yeah. Yay. Just on that, locking in the vibe, I was just thinking, I imagine there will be a few people out there who are saying, yeah, but Carissa, I tried that. I got a cheat sheet and I said what I want. I wrote down what I wanted and I did it for a week and nothing happened. I don't think it works. Because when we talk about it, we're maybe giving the impression that things happen very, very quickly. But I just thought it might be useful to put some parameters around that and understanding, depending on what you're asking for, depending on what you are manifesting, or things take shorter and longer times. Would you say that's
Absolutely.
fair?
That is absolutely fair. Well, some things are bigger. So like a millionaire author destiny, sometimes it's going to require a little bit of effort if that's what you believe. So if your belief system, because remember, those thoughts are things that you continue to think. So you've got belief systems that are already in the back of your brain. And so if your belief system says, in order to have a millionaire author career, I'm going to have to write a bazillion books before I get there, you're going to ensure throughout the process that that's how it works for you. Where if you chose, or if you were like, oh my gosh, Kel Carpenter wrote 3 books and all of a sudden she's a millionaire author and now she's continuing on, she's continuing to do it. It's great. She's fantastic. I could do that too. If you believe that, it will be true for you. But it all comes down to what our belief system and structure is in our brain already. So if we are unconsciously holding on to thoughts that contradict the one that we're trying to write over, it's going to take time of repetitive thought. So thinking those thoughts over and over until it gets rewired, because our brains are just circuitry, right? So we're trying to rewire the brain, making that thought, the new thought that we want, more dominant. And if the one that pops up that says, oh, this doesn't work for me, comes up, you have the choice, because now all of a sudden it's a choice. If you want it to work for you, you have to go, okay, but is that really true? You have to look at the thought you just had, which is, by the way, on the not side of the stick, right? It's the not having the desire side of the stick. But when you're looking at that thought, go, is it actually true? Like, does it work for no one? It's obviously working for some people. And so then you can talk yourself through, well, it's not working for me yet. And so you start shifting those thoughts just a little bit. It's not working for me yet. And the reason that works is because now you're shifting out of that it's not going to ever work for me belief, and you're shifting into, but it will eventually work for me. It's coming, it's happening. And the more you continue to shift that thought and keep repeating whatever it crops up, this isn't working for me, shift it back into yet, just remember that yet. because it will keep you on the path of continuing forward versus getting stuck and feeling like it's never going to work.
Yeah, that little word "yet" is a magical word, and it's amazing how it just changes the way that you feel about the sentence you've just said to yourself, or the thought that you've just had about yourself.
Right?
And
you felt the energy shift, right?
Yeah, totally. I have absolutely felt that. And that, I think that what you were speaking about there just fits in so well to that simple tool of having affirmations that just help you slowly but surely start changing the way that you talk to yourself and what you believe is possible for you. And the word possible, everything's possible. And keeping that in your mind means that you can go after whatever you want, and that might include being a millionaire author, which we will come to. I keep saying we'll come to things, but I do want us to get to
number 5
principle. Yes, please.
Yeah. So beliefs are just thoughts you continue to think. So we just spoke about it, but that is the thing. So number 5 is always beliefs are just thoughts you continue to think. And so if you want to create abundance, if you want to create a life of your dreams, if you want to have a millionaire author destiny, if you want to have readers who are excited and ready to get your book the second it drops, you have to think thoughts that are in alignment with that. So you have to push your thoughts all the time into the direction that you're wanting them to go. And it will be, especially in the beginning, it will be more effort because you're used to thinking a certain way. You're used to having certain thoughts because those neural pathways have developed stronger. So what you're trying to do is shift those, create new neural pathways that are stronger and more concrete in the direction that you actually want. And then those become the dominant thoughts. They become easier. The other ones start to wither away and die, which is great because you don't want to be thinking those thoughts. Mm-hmm. And now you're in that place of understanding and pulling in, and new ideas are coming. And all of a sudden the things start flowing faster to you because you're more in alignment with what it is you desire versus what you're afraid you won't get.
Yes. So rather than focusing on what you won't get, focusing on what you will get and what is possible for you. One of the questions I was going to ask you was, when you were talking about, your higher self, the non-ego self, and listening to your body and your body telling you this is the right move, this is the right step, this is the right decision for you. Could we think of that as sort of intuition? And these are just ways of tapping into our intuition?
Absolutely. I would say Abraham Hicks actually takes that a step further and calls it your guidance system. So they have like this whole chart of like the emotional scale is what they call it, where you can figure out where you are on the scale based on how you're feeling. And so if you're feeling like, I actually have a picture of it over here, but it's taped to my thing so that I remember like where I'm feeling and how I'm feeling. I can look at it quickly, but it depends on where you're at. So like if you're feeling fear and grief or anger or jealousy or any of those things, you're operating in those lower octaves of the frequency. And so you're not, I mean, it's never a bad thing. People, there are times where you should be in grief, you should be in anger, you should be in those things. So it's not to say that those emotions are ever bad. It's just showing you the direction of where you're at. So like if you're looking at it in the sense of your author career and you're feeling those things, that's a choice more than likely, because it's not, someone in your life, your author life didn't die, you're still alive. So your career is just the thing that you're working on, you're maybe anxious about, or you're sad, or you're worried, or you're disappointed it's not happening faster. But you always have the choice to start thinking better feeling thoughts and start moving up that scale. And they talk often about how, you're not going to be able to make big leaps necessarily all the time. So like if you're in anger, you're not all of a sudden going to be going to joy, like miraculously. You have to kind of coach yourself up. And it's the same, like when you're stuck with a chapter, you have to coach yourself up. You have to remind yourself that, okay, I'm stuck. It's the frequency that I'm in right now. I'm in this, wonder which one that is actually. That's kind of, well, it depends. It could be frustration. It could be overwhelmment. It could be doubt. So that's why you're kind of stuck in that place. So if you can start pulling yourself up that emotional scale, just bit by bit, trying to get to that place of, well, maybe it'll happen sooner than I think. Hopefulness is higher than obviously pessimism. So you're putting yourself into a frequency that's just a little bit better, and just keep thinking thoughts that are just a little bit better until you do feel better. So that's really key, especially since I think oftentimes we feel the emotions, we feel our gut instincts, but we don't know what it really means. And so if we realize that those emotions are there to guide us towards what we're really wanting, it's going to help us get there so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think why I'm asking that question is I want people to see this is nothing new. It's not something that they don't have or a new skill that they need to acquire as such. It's already there, but it's just listening to it and tapping into it and taking advantage of that marvelous thing that we've got, which is our intuition. So you mentioned earlier as well, frequency. Everybody, everything, even inanimate objects, all have a frequency. We all give off an energy. And I know one of the things that you wanted to cover in the masterclass is the frequency of money. And you've got a course which is the Millionaire Author Manifestation, and those words, money, millionaire, they can send either shivers down our spine, or they can bring up emotions for us, and a frequency that perhaps is not as high as we would like it to be. So I wondered if you wouldn't just mind speaking into that a little bit more about the frequency of money and what that means.
Absolutely. Well, when you think about money, oftentimes people are going to default to whatever money mentalities they had or created as a kid. Like if you lived with a family that, money was tight, or things were not easily brought to you, or, money was the source of a lot of fights in your household or whatever, you're going to grow up thinking money is not good or evil. Or maybe you have seen, like, in politics, people with money are just like jerks, so I don't want to actually be a person with money because, so you've got all these negative beliefs. Some people call them blocks, but they're negative beliefs about what money is and what it means for you. And so when you have those and they're in the back of your mind, it's very hard for you to pull in abundance, because that's really all that money is. It's freedom. It's the opportunity to allow the things that you want in this plane of existence, this reality, to unfold, because money, it just flows. It's an energy of its own, because abundance can come in money form. It could come in a free gift. It could come in your best friend buying you a ticket to a concert. It flows in lots of different ways. And so when we can tap into the feelings of abundance, the things that we actually want, that's where the energy shifts. So when you're focusing on, like, oh my gosh, my checkbook is in the negative and I have bills coming this week, you're focusing on this lack mentality. You're in poverty mode. And especially like in our author careers in the beginning, I think many of us do that, where we're not sure our author career has the potential to do what we want it to do. We're not sure of ourselves. We're looking for validation. We want things to go really well. And the idea of investing in this as a business scares the living hell out of us, because all of those beliefs that we've already concretized. But in order to shift that into abundance, in order to shift into a money mentality that's going to suit you and help you to create what you want, you have to remember that decision, lock in, and take the inspired action mode. So you're going to decide, look, I am going to be a millionaire author. I'm going to be an author who has lots of readers. What does that feel like for you? So when you think about that, as if it were actually here, if it were really you right now, what does that feel like? Hold that vibe for a minute. Think about how that would feel to be that person already. Think about how having all that money will allow you to support your family, or to help you with your best friend's, wedding, or whatever the small town romance vibe is for you, all these different things. You can choose what it's going to get to look like for you. And as you shift into what you really desire, and imagining it like a story, like the plot line that you're trying to unfold for your books, as soon as you start to imagine it, now you're activating that frequency of money. Now you're activating the frequency of the desire you really want, and you're no longer operating out of that lack and scarce mentality.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's just so reminds me of, one of the reasons that we love to read is we get to live vicariously through another character's experiences. And science has proven time and time again that when we imagine things, and we imagine them very deeply, our brain thinks it's real. Our brain thinks it's happening, and that it can really be that way. And then you get to know how it feels to be in that way. And then that too fits in with that shift that we're having about what is possible, and that it's not happened yet, but you start to believe it more and more, that this could be the right thing for me. This is a possibility for me. And so that frequency, that vibe that we give off as an individual, starts to lift and starts to get higher. And suddenly, being a millionaire, that word that might have triggered us a year ago, is now, well, maybe that is on my path, and that is a possibility for me. Because I know that you've had a little bit of people have responded to that word millionaire.
Absolutely.
But I know that you chose it very deliberately.
Yes. So I'm not at millionaire author stage either. And the reason I chose it so specifically is because it's what I am on my path towards. It's the thing that I'm reminding myself even that I'm going to get to. And so as I'm locking it in, as I'm thinking the thoughts of millionaire over and over, as I'm thinking about all the things that I desire to become, it helps me to stay in that frequency of it. And so it's very easy for me to continue. Like, I see millionaire author all day long because I have courses for it. I have, I don't have a millionaire author background, but I actually as tricks, I put it as my background for my phone. I have it as, different things that will let me log into things like my phone. I have millionaire, so there's all these different tricks where you're setting it into your subconscious mind. It's kind of like the lazy author's guide to creating the energetic frequency in your brain, right? Connecting those neural pathways in the way that you want. I think Denise Duffield Thomas does a great job in her stuff doing that as well, where it's like you're creating these quick, easy things so that you're always all day reminding yourselves of eventually getting there. And for me, millionaire author is where I've always seen myself. But there were moments of that, dark night of the soul where I'm like, it's never going to happen, right? It's never going to happen. I've only been doing it a decade and it's never going to happen. Like, I have many decades left, right? But for me, I always thought efforting was the way to go. I thought, well, you have to do a lot of hard work to get there. I saw my dad having to do a lot of hard work. I saw my mom as an artist struggling to get her paintings out there. And so for me, that was a belief system that I had to uproot and get rid of so that I could move past that and start to allow in the things that I wanted. So with authors, we often, as we're creating things, it's a lot like the middle of a book. When you're mid-manifestation of your dream career or whatever, there are moments where you're going to have like tension, you're going to have contrast, you're going to have things that are in the middle of that make you feel like questioning yourself. But as long as you hold the vibe, knowing that it's still yours, you'll get there. But we have to get out of our own way and not let it be the thing that stops us from doing it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Love it. I absolutely love it. Yes, I talk a lot about a vision and having a concrete vision for what you want in the future. And only once you have that, then can you start manifesting it, breaking it down, making it happen, taking those steps towards it becoming the reality. We have covered such a lot, such amazing stuff. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you think would be really pertinent for people who are thinking about coming along to the masterclass on Monday?
I think the biggest thing is that if you feel like you have, those resistant thoughts or those limiting beliefs that are really set into your subconscious and you're not sure how to even let them go, because sometimes we don't recognize them for what they are and they kind of get stuck in our brains. I actually am bringing on board certified hypnotherapist Tammy Tyree to join me. And so she's going to be a part, not only is she a part of the masterclass, she's going to be a part of the Millionaire Author Manifestation course that's coming. And so she is just a fabulous woman. First of all, she's also an indie author. And so that's been an interesting, fun thing that she and I get to talk about an awful lot. And so for her to come on board, she's helping us with guided hypnotherapy sessions. So in the Abundant Author Activation, she's recorded it for the people who upgrade to the paid option. And then she's going to be doing it live for those who are attending live. And she's just such a fabulous woman, but she's helping us to activate the abundant author mindset, the abundant author destiny that we are all calling to us. And so she's going to put that into the subconscious and help us get there. And then with the manifestation course, we have eight different weeks full of content. And so every week she's got sometimes 2 different recorded hypnosis sessions that are going to go into the modules. So it's fantastic. And so she's just amazing. So if you're looking for an easy way to tap into that subconscious belief and uproot it so that you can replace it with better feeling beliefs, this is definitely going to be an amazing adventure.
Yeah, definitely. And underneath in the description, you will find the link there for you to sign up for Monday. Well, Carissa, thank you. Thank you for coming in to share your knowledge, share your experiences as well. Because I think when we see the impact it has on other people, then we can start to believe that it's possible for us too. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was so much fun, Emma.
A pleasure. Bye.